So back with Rachel, who is picking bits of
trough
trough
off my trousers.
as we speak.
It's melting.
And I have to say that as teachers, we have ex-teachers. I think once you're a teacher, you're always a teacher.
Yeah.
We might not be paid for it any longer, but we still have that love and fire in our belly about it. And we both have a thing about children and reading and children and vocabulary and not dumbing down, as you mentioned. So when you started writing these books, what prompted that?
I've always wanted to write from being a very little girl. And I mean very little, I mean about 5 years old. I've always wanted to write stories. I used to read fantasy books, the Narnia stories. Peter Pan was my favourite. I used to rewrite Peter Pan over and over and fill up exercise books with it. So I've always wanted to write, but of course, sensibly, you have to have a career that's going to pay you, because writing is not a get-rich-quick scheme by any means. So I, by various means, got into teaching, and that was that really. But I never lost the urge to write. And when I went to Bergen in Norway, came across the trolls, and in fact, it was Harry Burgley, one of my other trolls, who I bought first. And I was on holiday with my mum and dad at the time, and my husband. And we stayed in a little cottage in the woods, and we were too far away from anywhere at night time to go out. It was very dark. We didn't know where we were going. So we stayed in, cooked for ourselves, and because there wasn't any television, we really were like trolls. Yes. My dad and I made up a poem which we added to night after night. It got ruder and ruder and more ridiculous. But it started off, if I can remember it, midst, I can't remember it. Let me get the book. That's the best way to do it.
So your dad was a wordmonger as well?
Absolutely, yeah. He used to write poetry, just nonsense poetry. This is it. Midst Norway's craggy mountains, in a damp and gloomy cave, sat hermit Harry Burgley, who wasn't very brave. And that's where it started, really. My dad and I writing that poem. And so, yeah, then I got my other trolls, and I thought this is probably where I need to be with writing, because it's fantasy and it just ticks all my boxes.
So, say you're starting a new novel. How do you have the whole of the story laid out in your mind, or does it gradually develop?
It sounds really, really twee, but it's the best way to describe it. I don't have a big flash of inspiration, sadly. That'd be dead easy if I did. I get little ideas when I'm, I don't know, going for a walk, when I'm cycling, when I'm going up in mountains. I am very attuned with the touch, the smell, potentially the taste of things on my walks around, particularly if I go to Switzerland. And I keep those feelings and those thoughts and those sounds in my head, and I scribble down just odd little ideas. Crocus, the baby snatcher, is one of my characters, and I was cycling and I heard a crow go overhead going croak, croak, and I said, "I see you, crow." And I thought, gosh, I sound just like Hobnail, my other character. "I see you, crow." And then I thought, if I had a crow in my book, I'd call him Crocus, like the flower, but crow hyphenated cus, the baby snatcher. And I get lots of ideas like that. And so I'm saying it sounds twee because I then capture all these odd little bits of inspiration, like butterflies in a net, and gradually they sort of come together to form a story, but it takes a long time. I've got a planning book here, which was the plan for Finra's story, which ended up being Stolen Secrets. And I always go everywhere with a notebook in my bike basket. I have it by the side of my bed. Sometimes I have been known to sit on the edge of the swimming pool at the gym and ask for a pen from a trainer and just write things down because I've suddenly got an idea. I've sat in the rain on the roadside and scribbled ideas down so I don't forget them. I do dream ideas. So once I start getting odds and bits and bobs of ideas, this is falling to bits, this book now, because it was so used. I jot them down and over a period of time they gel.
Right.
And then I start to put them together in rough, you can see it's all crossed out as I've used them, in rough sections for a story. And then once I've done that, I add on, and I start putting it. Oh, there's a little bit of research for Lucinia, the nightingale. I start putting it into chapters then and plan various chapters in more and more detail. Once I've planned, the writing then is so easy because I see it like a film in my head. By that time I've gone through so much planning and thinking that I just see the scene unfold and I write what I see. So it's from tiny little ideas like a crow flying overhead to catching them, letting them gel, letting them develop, then a very rough plan, then a more detailed plan, and then chapter plans.
And a lot of that is handwritten. Do you then go to computer for the actual writing?
Yeah,
part?
I always plan in pencil. I find it's a little bit more touchy-feely, user-friendly, more scribbly.
I mean, research is actually showing that that's so, and that we should encourage children to still
I think
use handwriting.
Yeah, yes. I think it makes you freer with your ideas. You can scribble out. You can make mistakes. I know you can cut and paste, but that's for the proper writing. I think for ideas, you just put any rubbish down. Yes. You don't have to use it. There's no, it's not set in stone. But then once I'm happy with the plan of the story, that's when I go onto the laptop. Then I'm locked in, and in the case of Frostjan, locked down. And I write sometimes for hours on end, sometimes for only an hour or two. It depends how it's flowing, but it's usually flowing fairly well by then. Sometimes I forget to have lunch. And I know when it's time to stop writing because all of a sudden it clears, the film clears in my head, and I sort of breathe and I think, oh, it's like waking up out of a dream, and then I stop and then I go back to it next day. But it takes me about up to 6 months to plan, certainly 3 months to plan, because I plan and plan and plan from first ideas. Then because I'm not always writing, it takes about a year to write a book. These are fairly detailed books. I mean, there's a lot of words in these.
Yes.
A lot of editing, checking, going back over, making sure you've got consistency with the time, the day, whatever. Then it's about 6 months for the publishers to do their editing and checking, or suggestions, I like to say, because they've never taken chunks out. They've said things like, Rachel, would you like this in italics or would you like it bold? Is the character shouting or is he just... So we have to sort all that out.
Yes.
Occasionally there'll be a spelling error. Only occasionally. Front cover needs to be done with the graphics team. Then it has to go on Amazon. The blurb has to be done, the dedication, the acknowledgements, the illustrations. It takes a long time. So from first ideas in my little butterfly net through to actual book in my hand can be up to about 2 years.
Gosh.
So maybe I don't write quickly enough. Maybe I should just write shorter stories or not care so much. I don't know. But it's this dumbing down business, isn't it?
Yes, and that caring is vital, and it comes through in the words that you use.
Well, thank you. I forget which book it was now, but I wrote one of my books and my daughter read it. I mean, obviously my daughter and son are my biggest fans, bless their boots. But my daughter read it and she said, Mummy, there is not one wasted word in this book. And that really struck a chord with me because I do select my words very carefully and try to encourage children to use interesting vocabulary, not just the simplest word, the first word that comes into their heads. A nice green tree. Yes. No. So yes, that's the process really, which takes quite a while, but it is lovely. And once I've planned and I'm in my writing phase, I just love it.
Good.
Hate production. That's just a complete pain in the what's-it. But writing is great.
Rachel, that has been super. So
So
I will include in the blurb details of your books.
Perhaps best to put my website on, really. That's perhaps easier.
I was going to
Or
ask,
both.
have you one? If you have, then I will include that.
Super duper.
Brilliant.
Thank you for your time and interest, Dee.
Oh, my pleasure.
in my nonsense writing.
No,
That's how I roll.
We have to have something other than reality in our lives. Reality is
certainly agree.
not a good place to be sometimes.
Certainly for a lot of children,
Reality
not
is
a good
scary. No.
And for them to escape into a book
Yes.
is great. I used to climb a rope ladder when I was a child into a tree. And so I tell children to climb a rope ladder up into their imagination.
Absolutely.
And enjoy being there.
Yes. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome.
And take care. And thank you to all the trolls for behaving so impeccably.
We say goodbye, so we say Gustiborg.
And Gustiborg to you too. Thank you. And thank you all for joining us. Bye for now. Speak to you soon. Bye.